these aren't the only 5 by any means, right? Happy 5 Fact Friday. 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden, and it is 5 Fact Friday. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Hope you've had a good week. Feeling quite chirpy today. And I've also discovered what misophonia is. Someone complained about me slurping. So if you suffer from misophonia, cover your ears now or mute your computer now. Because unfortunately, the slurp has become something of a tradition. Now, quickly, 5 Fact Friday to summarize for those of you who don't have time to listen to me ramble on in your Friday evening. In no particular order, the 5 most significant new pieces of information that have come out in the housing market in the last 7 days are: number 1, the Zoopla House Price Index was released, showing a 7-year record high in property listings coming to market and sale delays for people who have to drop their price. Okay, but 7-year high of supply, and they said that's going to keep house price growth under control. Number 2, Nationwide reports a small increase in year-on-year house price growth and a small decrease in house prices month on month. I'll come on to that in a minute. Number 3, the ONS released house building data today, showing that Q1 house building is 50% below both governments' targets, causing real problems for the Labour government's claim of building 1.5 million houses a year. So it's just not going to happen. Number 4, Bank of England mortgage approvals jump to the highest since the pre-mini budget. So since August 2022, this is the highest Bank of England new mortgage approvals registered for 2 years. And that is significant. And no one's picked up on this today because it's the non-seasonally adjusted figure that shows that it's jumped up to, I think, 72,000. They're reporting it's 62,000 as seasonally adjusted, but it's actually 72,000. Now, I'm often criticized for choosing the non-seasonally adjusted number because it's lower, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to show you I do the same when it's higher. It's more important than just the sort of anesthetized seasonally adjusted that doesn't really tell you what's happening. The fact that this is the first time mortgage approvals in 1 month have been that high for over 2 years, and they're back up to long-term average of that level, that is newsworthy. Nobody picked up on it. Not a mention in the news of that. So no one can accuse me of just being only a doom monger, right? This is significant news for the housing market. Right. So thanks for watching, everyone. Those of you who just wanted to hear those 5 facts, the links are below. There's a link. And if you just search MHWC 5 Fact Friday, it will take you to the page feed of every week's links to all the links. So just go there and you'll find the links to everything I just described. Now what I'm going to do is run through it in a little bit more detail and give you a bit more meat on the bones, so to speak. And we're going to start with the Zoopla figures very quickly, just briefly, not going to spend too long on this. So the activity levels are up across the board, which is good. Okay, everything's up. So buyer demand is up 20% on this time last year. The number of sales agreed is up 23% on this time last year, which is really good news because that's transaction volume is picking up. And that's also reflected in that Bank of England mortgage approvals now for July. The flow of new supply, that's new homes 12% up on last year. And stock of homes for sale 14% up. So new supply is new stuff coming to the market, and the total stock for sale is everything. And that's, I really commend Zoopla and Richard Donnell for this, because they're giving us all the different metrics, not just picking one that overstates one particular thing like the Rightmove House Price Index does. And if we go and look in the actual PDF breakdown itself, this was something else that I thought was very refreshing. Do you remember after the base rate was cut, all the housing market commentators said, well, the base rate, because of the base rate, it's suddenly go whoosh. And everyone went, yeah, everyone nodded furiously. Yeah. It's the base rate cut that's caused this. And actually, no. Richard said there's no material impact from the August base rate cut. It's still August. I mean, how is there going to be in a market that moves as slowly as a turning oil tanker? How is there going to be a noticeable difference in the figures in the same month when the base rate's cut? It just doesn't make sense, does it? So thank you to Zoopla, Richard Donald, for this very sensible statement. The long-awaited cut in the base rate in August was welcome news for the wider economy, but it has had no material impact on levels of buyer demand compared to the underlying trend over recent weeks. The real reason buyer demand for homes is 20% higher than last year is down to a fall in demand a year ago in response to the spike in mortgage rates. Okay, so that's the real reason for the increase. 2023 was a very, very quiet year for transactions. It was actually a transaction crash. To be honest, it was more than a 20% crash in transaction volumes, not a price crash. And so it's good. That's why it's showing up. This actually is a good opportunity to make a very important point that I want everyone to understand. The number of people who want to move house is a constant flow of people getting older, wanting to move out of their parents, having kids, getting divorced, dying, all the things. That doesn't stop. That's there might be slight undulations in it, but it doesn't stop. What stops is affordability, is access to being able to move. And so when you have a year like 2023, where you have a very low number of transactions, not because people didn't want to move, because they did, but because there was this massive standoff in price. Sellers are holding out for prices they couldn't get. Buyers are refusing to pay them. You get a pent-up demand, a pent-up backlog of demand. And we're beginning to see this coming through now. So onwards into the next topic. Now, so this is nationwide. Hang on a second. This is my post this morning about it, and let me just qualify my comments here. Imprecise, unknown, and I'm not picking on nationwide here by any means, right? This is basically most house price indices. So some newspapers reported it as prices rising at the fastest rate annually, and others said prices unexpectedly falling. It was pick your poison from the media reports today. But actually, we don't know the sample size. We don't know the calculation method. So it's an imprecise, unknown sample size, monthly, mortgaged only, so it excludes cash transactions, house transaction value index, and it's not an average because they have all kinds of weird hedonic regression and seasonal adjustment and mix adjustment and weighting and all that kind of stuff. So it's not any sort of average. They call it average for Joe Schmo down the pub to understand. In fact, all of us, because unless you are a fairly extreme mathematician, the calculations are very complicated. So it's not an average. They just call it that to keep us happy. And it's changed a bit. And of course, if it is an average of the country, it's not representative of anything in the country. And some people were saying that the unexpected house price falls. I mean, it's such a small amount, 0.2% month on month. The margin of error has got to be bigger than that. So, as much as I would like to see house prices becoming lower for affordability reasons, I don't actually buy that house prices are falling because the nationwide says so. There's just not enough accuracy in there. And I hope everyone that accuses me of always jumping on any negative price sentiment and going, yes, see, will now take it back and realize that I'm only interested in the truth of what's happening. Up, down, sideways, it doesn't matter. I'm only interested in finding the truth. So here is the document itself. Annual house price growth edged higher. Now, that all right, fair enough. Yeah, that's not overstating it. Fastest growth in all the newspapers doing their silly stuff. But they fell 0.2% month to month in August. Fastest pace of annual growth since December 2022. That's a pretty meaningless statement. It's just to do with times on the graph. Energy, now this was interesting. Energy efficiency becoming more important in influencing what buyers will pay for a home. By the way, they're saying that the average house price the average UK house price is 265,000. Zoopla's is 266,000 or 65 as well. I think it's actually about the same. We've got it there, so why don't I look? Where is the Zoopla number? Because it's just interesting that they're both together. They're the only two that actually seem to match. It's Zoopla and Nationwide. I can't find the actual number here, but it's come on. From memory, it's oh, there we are. I have got it. There it is. So there's the Zoopla number. 266,400 is Zoopla's number in August 2024. And Nationwide's number is 265,000. So they're very, very close. Those two indices are close. Halifax is, for comparison reasons, is I think 30 grand more. And Rightmove's is 100 grand more. Honestly, the Rightmove house price index should wear a clown hat. By the way, who do we have there? Evening, everyone. Hi, Leo. Hi, Allegra86, Marcus Aurelius, Tina Fey, D. Mumford, Imdadul. Hi there. Geo Gaming. What? First time catching me live after a year of viewing, says Geo Gaming. AJ just got my keys this afternoon. Congratulations. Wicked. Well done. Fantastic news. Oh, I'm so happy for you. That is just good news. Just great news. Every time I hear one of my followers getting into a home, absolutely fantastic news. And so welcome Geo Gaming, because I don't recognize that. Well, there we are. So first time catching you live after a year of viewing. Welcome. I'm glad you caught me live. Welcome to the show. Naida Afzal, hi there. Tina B, hi. Nikki Nike, hi there. Right, let me carry on. So here is the data for the Bank of England's mortgage approvals. Now, those of you who've watched this channel for a long time will know that the relevance of this number, Bank of England mortgage approvals, is because, as per Alex Gramwater, who did all the work on this to find correlations in house price growth and ups and downs, mortgage approvals was one of the stronger correlating factors in house price movements, right? Number one being real wage growth, so wage growth after inflation. And at the moment, that the overall average, according to the official statistics, wage growth is higher than house price growth. And same with, okay, so this is the other things up. So we're back up. And this is significant news, and it's good news. Oh, sorry, guys, I've missed something. I'll come back to it in a minute, right? On Nationwide, I'll come back to it. This is good news because as you know, I've been saying what we all need is transaction volumes to pick up. And this is happening. And there is no generic generalization for the whole market. It's different everywhere, whether you're at low values or the high values, whether you're north or south, whether you're house or flat, whether you're town or rural. All of those are different, unique, discrete markets, okay? But overall transaction volumes picking up is good news. Now, so I can hear someone say, okay, guys, but you say when that goes up, it's a sign of house prices going up too. Well, over the long-term trend, it does correlate quite closely. I don't think it's going to right now for reasons I'll come on to say now. Okay. Now, what I wanted to also show you, which I missed, just to go back to Nationwide's thing, which was interesting, was this chart here. I don't know if you can see this. So owner-occupier price premium relative to energy efficiency rating D. So what this is saying is that if your EPC certificate is an A or B, your price is 2.8% higher compared to a similar property with a D rating. And if you've got an F or a G, your property price is worth 4. That's a 7% variation between EPC grade A and EPC grade F or G, right? A or B, F or G, 7% variation, or roughly speaking, 20,000 quid difference based on EPC rating alone. Now, that does not apply to all properties automatically, but it's an interesting overall phenomenon to observe, I think. So yeah, just back to the mortgage approvals. So this is mortgage approvals going back to July 2022, right? And then August 2022, 75,000. This is non-seasonally adjusted. So these are the actual mortgage approval numbers registered with the Bank of England every month since July 2022. And you can see what happened, right? It tells its own story there, all over the shop. Down, up a bit, then sort of flatline a bit, then down, then started to pick up. And up, there they are, back up with quite a big jump in a month, back up to into the 70,000s. And this sort of, they're at 72,000. I think the long-term average before COVID was about 73, 74,000. So we're back up to normal mortgage transaction volumes. There's no data for cash only transaction volumes as up to date as this. So we can't tell whether that's also up or down. But this also bears out, I mean, actually think about it. July was the month of the election, wasn't it? But this bears out what everyone's been saying, which is it's getting busier generally. Not everywhere. Now, there are places where there are still no buyers looking at houses. And this brings me on to my comment I wanted to make on what I think is happening out there, generally speaking. I think that first-time buyer properties, in terms of price, are on average across the country holding up better than any others. There are places in the country where they are still falling slowly, not very fast, but slowly. And there are places in the country where they're going up slowly. I think that the downsizing trend continues, and there are a larger than typical number of transactions at the higher value of detached houses than normal. And because there's a larger than normal number of those transactions, it pulls the average transaction price up. But prices at the higher end have definitely softened. Definitely softened. Okay. Let me just get back to just trying to get the right text back on the page. Where has it gone? Why can't I find it? I'm going mad. Where is it? There it is. Sorry, guys. Right. I'm dragging this out, aren't I? Here's the next point. House building. Latest ONS figures out today show UK house building at just half of the government's target. And this is for Q1 2024, okay? It's the lowest since 2016. And as this includes social homes, only 70% of what was built were actually private house builders so far. Why is this relevant? Sorry, I didn't supposed to have that on the screen. Why is this relevant? Because the housing crisis is most acute where there's the most serious shortage of social homes. They're not building social homes. And the government's promise to solve the housing crisis seems to pivot around new house building measures, and they're just not happening yet. And they're talking a big game and saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And the Tories were terrible. We're going to do this, but there's no concrete progress yet. I know we're only 2 months in. I'm not saying that they should have achieved demonstrable actual results yet, but there's still a very worrying lack of tangible evidence of any progress. Just a lot of guff, a lot of government guff. And not a brilliant look for Ange Rayner, who I am generally a fan of as a person, not necessarily her policies, but I admire her determination and her ambition as a politician to come from where she's come from to get where she's got to Deputy Prime Minister. That is no small achievement. There are people who think she's going to get thrown under the bus by the party when she's going to challenge Keir Starmer. But she was that video of her dancing in Ibiza, which was all over the internet today. That doesn't bother me at all. Everyone deserves to be on holiday. You know, you can't just work non-stop. You have to have a holiday. The problem is that there's a very large section of society who'll think it's outrageous that she's partying in Ibiza when, you know, she's as entitled to a holiday as anyone else. Good for her. Have a dance. Get in the DJ booth. All good. But it's not good optics when you've got the media baying for anyone's blood just to get clicks. So, I mean, I think it'll probably blow over, but I suspect that there's some truth to the theories that Angela Rayner is not actually in line for any real power and is more likely to be blamed for failing to meet housing targets and then fired for it. So that's what people are saying. I don't know. But what's important is the government doesn't bugger about with this and actually gets on and achieves something. And by the way, if you want to see the actual figures that the ONS, it's all from the ONS data, and the link is below in my link, and on that post there's a link below it to the ONS spreadsheets if you want to go check it for yourself, if you've got nothing else better to do. Okay, guys, I think that's all of the facts. So, do we have any quick questions, or can I wrap it up early on a Friday night? Do we have any? Right. I would like to remind everybody. So I've got a survey on my Twitter homepage, which I would very much like everyone, if you haven't already filled this out, to fill out. Let me put it in the live chat. Right. That's the link to it. I would really appreciate if you could put your response on there. I need this for Best Agent Day. Put your response on there and repost it if you can. And if you aren't on X, then that's the same survey is also on my YouTube community page. Please check it out there if you haven't. The house price index page is live again. Okay, let me just give you. Here it is. I will share that page again. So this is the public house price index, and here's the link to it coming right now. Siggy's not well. Stiggy, I did actually ask him to join this evening, but he's in bed with a lurgy, poor thing. Not well. Don't worry, he'll be around again before too long. I've just been absolutely flat out up to my eyes preparing for Best Agent Day. If you're an agent watching this, we've had a really, really good turnout so far. Make sure there's a link in the description below to register, or just search Best Agent Day. It's free for agents. It's agents only, free to register, and there's an amazing lineup of people. And we're going to be talking about how all agents can double transaction volumes by not overvaluing and overpricing. Okay, there's a question. I will get to your question there, Sarah. But if you haven't, so this is the Best Agent House Price Index, and it's called the Public House Price Index because it is made up of prices submitted by the public, which is you. It's just at its launch at the moment. It's like a soft launch. It also is going to be having prices put in by agents and conveyancers. And as you put it in, if you put your numbers in, you'll see that current live total will tick up. It is a live thing, and it's displaying the median and average exchanges of what's been put in as well. And it's going to be totally transparent. And the second reason it's called public is not only because the public can contribute to it, but also because when we reach a large enough sample size, we are going to publish the entire granular data set so that it can be scrutinized by the public. Lots of questions. Right, let's get into these questions. But please, if you haven't already, and there's a link also on the screen down there, bestagent.property/HPI is where you can go and put it in. And then that data will actually appear on this page. All right, in this line, exchange prices. There's slightly different timings on it, which is why there's slightly different values there at the moment. We're still ironing out those chinks. Right. Let's get into your questions. Jude, I'll get to your question. I'm going to do all these questions. Right, let's do the questions in order that they were asked. So we will start with Sarah Wild, who says, I've noticed many properties coming to the market that were purchased in 2020 when interest rates were at their lowest. Do you think that those owners have now ended their fixed rate mortgages? Well, the ones who are on 2 years, yes. The ones who are on 5 years, no, not yet. They've got another year to go. And there were some, the wise ones, who are going to be feeling very smug about themselves, are the ones who did a 10-year fix. However, more people go for 2 year than 5 year, and so there's a lot of people coming off 2 year mortgages, especially this year. People stop talking about it so much, but there is a very large number of people on standard variable rate mortgages who've come off their fixed rate. They've been unable to remortgage. One of the interesting things in the Bank of England data today, by the way, was the fact that, and here it is, I'll show you, approvals for remortgaging fell to 25,000 in July from 27,000 same period. That's a seasonally adjusted number, so I don't know what the actual number was, but remortgaging is dropping and repossession numbers are going up. Palme 26 says, hi Charlie, how often are land registry prices updated? Because I viewed houses at the start of the year, then showing sold, but missing records on the land registry website. So the land registry is updating about 100,000 records a month, roughly. In the most recent month, it was about 100,000 records, but that's 100,000 records spread over the last 2 years, actually, and beyond. So every single month they issue the updates. But especially new builds, for curious reasons, new builds do not seem to get their prices reported for a long time, well over a year past completion date. And so it's very unusual to see a land registry price appear publicly in less than 6 months after completion. It does happen, but it's very unusual. On average, it's 6 months, and it goes up to 12, 15 months before 90% of the year's prices are reported. Christopher Satow says, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. How much of an impact do you think landlords selling up in London and the southeast and buying instead in places like Newcastle or Leicester is having? It's interesting. I wasn't aware that there were landlords doing that specifically. Doesn't mean there aren't. There may well be. I think I don't have a strong opinion on this yet, but the rumors and hints of a capital gains tax increase that's going to hit landlords in the autumn budget has been spooking a lot of landlords who want to get out and get their properties sold quickly before the capital gains tax increase happens. Is causing a lot more southern landlords to sell up and other landlords who are like on quite fine margins. Prices in the north of England have held up a bit better than the prices in the south. There's no doubt about that. And typically landlords go for easy volume rentals. Not always, but the problem is that when they're buying in competition with first-time buyers. So I sorry I haven't got a more precise answer to that, Christopher. Okay, Jude Porter says, hi Charlie, and you're on Facebook. Hi, Jude. I've got another question. By the way, everybody, quickly, before I forget, if you don't follow me, I'm on all the platforms, right? The platform I post on most is X. It's the easiest to post on. It's the easiest to interact with. It's the easiest to share images, photographs, stories. It's by far easier than Instagram or Facebook to post on, and that's where I tend to. And also, I have by far the highest number of followers outside YouTube or TikTok is on X. About just approaching 12,000 followers on X. So if you want to keep up with me on a more up-to-date basis, that's where to keep up. That's where I comment a lot about housing market news stories and politics, that kind of stuff. But I'm also, I am on Facebook. So just search for Moving Home with Charlie on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on X, and on all podcast platforms. Sorry, Jude, I'll get to your question now. I'm going to view a house on Monday. Cool. Everyone should be out viewing if you're thinking about moving. It's been put on overpriced and since been reduced. It's on for 135k. Is that the newly reduced price, or is that? And what was it reduced from? I'd like to know. It was bought for 130 only last September. In order for me to get the pottery shed I want, I need to offer lower, so don't want to go in at my best and final. There have been no other offers. What percentage lower do you think I should go in at? So, Jude, you are at risk of making a classic mistake, which is, in your case, ranking the pottery shed you want as a higher priority than securing the property you want. And if you end up losing out to someone else who bids the same as your final offer would be, you got to ask yourself, would you kick yourself for losing out for a price that you would have paid? This is the classic mistake that people only make once when they then lose out on something that they would. I mean, I've told stories about this countless times. It's your call. It's your call. You know, if no one else is offering, it's very difficult to comment without knowing exactly how long it's been on. So those are my questions. How long has it been on? What was it reduced from and when? After how long was the reduction? Because all of these things are hints and clues as to the seller's level of motivation. Also, if it was only bought last September, why is it being sold so quickly? I'd be curious to know about that. Is it freehold or leasehold? I'd always also want to know that. Garden shed suggests it's probably a house, right? Maybe a flat with a garden. But it's never ever, also, it's never a percentage. Your offer should never be based on a percentage of asking price. Never. The asking price is nothing more than a conversation starter. It's irrelevant. Your offer should be what you want to offer. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry if it's not helpful. Now, next one, Geo Gaming. After a year, finally gets to ask a question live on live chat. Recently offered on a property at 250,000. It's back to the market after they couldn't get hold of the original buyer. Gotta love a ghosting buyer. A buyer who makes an offer, hasn't accepted, and then just disappears. Everyone needs to understand that that's a thing, right? Buyers make offers, they get accepted, and then they go, oh, I didn't think it was going to be accepted. I'm not ready. Run away. That happens a lot. And that's one of the reasons why agents and sellers really want to know that you're not going to be that buyer. And that's why they're much more cautious of first-time buyers, which is another reason why your offer should contain your proof of deposit, your mortgage in principle, your conveyancing details, and your offer to buy a search pack, because then you're showing that you're not going to get spooked and run away if they accept your offer. You're going to actually proceed and be a quicker buyer. When I offered, they asked what kind of survey I would go for. Is this normal? Okay. Very interesting. My first thought is that suggests that they are perhaps covering up a structural problem or a problem that would be shown up with a survey. What kind of survey would you go for? Just a simple quick lender's survey, or is it going to be a full level 3 structural survey? It's a little bit of a red flag, not a huge red flag, but it's a small red flag. I also would question the truthfulness of that. Couldn't get hold of the original buyer. Is that because the original buyer's surveyor did the survey and found the damp dungeon in the basement with and said to the buyer, run a mile, don't touch it? Be careful. It's, I would, those are both. So couldn't get hold of the original buyer, maybe, probably guff. And what kind of survey are you going to go for? Why would they ask that? Other than because they're worried about what you're going to discover. I would proceed with extreme caution, Geo Gaming. I would proceed with extreme caution. Don't walk away. But based on that, I would be wanting to go for a full survey and see what their reaction is. So I'd like to go for a full level 3 structural survey, please. That's what my offer will be conditional on. And gauge their reaction from that. Do we have more questions now? Let me see. Let's go back to the comments. So, okay, yes, we do. I missed Allegra. Sorry, Allegra. Sorry, I missed your question. Allegra, if you're still there, I'm about to answer it. Let me just go see if there are any more questions down here. Some good questions. No, I explained, Liam, I explained Alex Groundwater is not well. Haven't killed him off. Yeah, Geo Gaming says, my gut feeling is telling me there's something wrong with it. Yeah, but again, that might mean there's a real opportunity to buy it for a steal. Just go and find out what the problem is, and then have a conversation. Okay, 3 more questions we've got here. So Allegra86 says, the house I'm interested in was listed in May for 1.5 million, not sold for 2 months due to lack of interest. That's from the agent. Delisted for a month, listed today for 1.67 million. Is there a strategy I'm missing? Okay. I know nothing. Okay, you got to tell me what part of the country that's in. Is that an expensive flat in central London, or is that a big house in the countryside, north or south? Occasionally, because there's several things that could happen here. Maybe the seller has decided to do so. It was on May and June. They took it off the market. There's been a couple of months now. They may have well done some refurbishing work in that time and thought that it's worth it. They might well have spent, 50 grand just tarting it up. Who knows? Okay, maybe the agent said. I'm speculating. I've got no idea if that's the case. The other thing that sometimes happens is, especially when you get into more unusual and rarer properties, and at that level of the market, depending where you are, you might be in the very unusual category. Is that just to exaggerate the numbers to make a point? If you're a £2 million buyer, you may not look at £1.5 million properties. You might just miss them altogether. And there are occasions, it's very unusual, so sellers should not get too excited about this. There are occasions with very unusual properties that actually increasing the price and relaunching reaches a new market of people who go, oh yeah, that's a very affordable property. But it's extremely unusual. It's very unusual. But there we are. There's my answer to that question, Allegra. D. Mumford says, hi, Charlie. Currently anxiously awaiting mortgage approval with Nationwide. Good luck. And remember, if they come back and say, sorry, we're down valuing it, they've saved you. They've done you a favor. Even though there's a hassle, you're going to have to redo the mortgage application. They're doing you a favor if they down value it. And AM says, is share of freehold basically leasehold light? Share of freehold is always leasehold, which also has a share of the freehold. Okay, so share of the freehold means it's a leasehold property, but it has a share of the freehold, which means that you've got some control over the service charges and costs, that kind of thing. Right, guys. Okay. Allegra says, it's a house in Essex. They use the same photos. No mention of the description of refurbishment. Okay. Well, then is it the same agent it came back on with? Because, again, it might just be the case, and they might be flying a kite. Maybe they thought that it was bad to put on before the election, but now that interest rates have gone down a little bit, they might think that actually they've got a better chance. It sounds to me like they're being very over-optimistic. I don't think a house that didn't sell in May for 1.5 is going to sell for 1.65, 10% more in August or September. Okay. Stacy says, I offered on a property that needs a full refurb after I did a 50-minute viewing and fell in love. Never let them see you fall in love. They'll use it against you, no matter how nice they are, right? Now, if like I've done it, I've been there, I've walked in, I've fallen in love with properties. It happens. Just poker face. Don't lie. Don't pretend you don't like it. Be honest. Say, yeah, I like it, but don't let them see your eyes light up and think, oh my God, it's my dream home. Just be very quiet. Walk around, ask questions about the house. Don't get all jittery and fluttery and excited, because they will use it against you and make you overpay. I offered what the agent said to me they already had. Mm. Next few days, I get the feeling the agent is surprised by my offer as you keep making odd comments. What sort of odd comments are you talking about, Stacey? Give me an example. If I view again, how can I fairly judge if I am overpaying? Okay. This is a fairly hardcore, brutal approach, and if you fall in love with it, it'd be very hard to do this. But what I always do, and honestly, life and age and wisdom teaches you this. If you can't afford to get into a bidding war for that property, but you still want it, and if you think the agent might be telling porkies about other offers, which happens, then the thing to do is to say, look, I'm not interested in being in a bidding war. So good luck with your other offers. If they don't work out, give me a call. I will be interested, but not if I'm in a competition scenario. Now, a good agent might say to you, okay, fair enough. And what do you think you'd be offering in the case? Say, no, not going to play that game. I only want to give you an offer if you confirm to me there are no other offers. And if you've got other offers, don't worry about it. And honestly, you'll be amazed. I would say 4 times out of 5, you'll be flushing out of the woodwork the fact that actually they don't have any other offers. And sometimes they'll say, well, we did have other offers, but they've gone away. So sometimes they won't lie, but they'll misrepresent the truth. And this is why I call it guff. Had any other offers in the house? Yeah, we have actually had lots. But they were 6 months ago and then they've gone away and we don't have any current offers on. So always ask when the other offers are made. Always ask when the other offers are made. And if they look shifty and roll their eyes, when would that be? Then it means the other offers aren't currently on the table, right? If they've got other offers currently on the table right now, they will look you in the eye and say, we currently have 3 offers on the table within the last week. So wait until you know you're the only offerer. Or not. If you want to just make your offer and just make the maximum comfortable price the property's worth to you. Okay, that's always the best bet, especially if it's property you're in love with. T asks, is it normal for agents to ask for offers to be put in by a very short deadline? I felt too much pressure, it put me off, not sure what to do if this happens again. Well, T, you're quite right to be put off by extreme pressure. Okay, very, very short-term pressure is a big red flag. I always walk away from it, whether it's buying a house or buying a car or whatever it is. Listen, we've got some other people. You're going to need to make an offer like in the next hour or today or tomorrow. No, okay, don't worry, leave it. Good luck. Call me back if it doesn't work out. So well done for walking away. If it happens again, what's reasonable is for agents to say, right, we've had all the viewings now. We're asking for everybody's offers to be put in by 12 o'clock Friday lunchtime. That's, and if that's like on a Monday, that's not unreasonable. If they're saying, look, we need your offer today because you've got other offers and the seller's going to make their decision today, that may well be true. So, it's impossible to know whether or not they're lying and making out that you need to do it now, but it's a pressure to try and get you to, pressure selling works on inexperienced people. And that's why you must never let yourself get attached. So that if you feel pressure, you walk away. Wow. Kim Thomas says, I was once in a contract race. Awesome solicitor that did it in 4 days. Just shows it can be done. Yep, it can be done. I'm working with the conveyancers that I work with on BestAgent to work towards a typical 10-week rather than the current 20-week industry standard, but actually a target of 7 days. 7-day exchange is possible if the buyer and seller are both prepared. Martmeister. Hello, that's a new name. Welcome. We're looking to relocate soon. We've spoken to some agents about valuation and they all come to the same figure. Starting the process of viewings, even though our place is not on the market. Any tips? When all agents give you the same number, there is a 99.9% chance that they are all overvaluing it by roughly 10%. And none of them wants to be the one that misses out on your instruction because they were honest about it. So I would keep talking to other agents. And I would go, I don't know what part of the town or country you're in, but I would try and find the owner managed agent who's been around the longest and tell them the truth and say, I've had 3 agents around, they all tell me the same number. I smell a rat. I want to know a truthful, brutal, honest opinion for this property in this market, please. I'd keep talking, because 3 the same, you don't get that. They're all, and I've had sellers who have told me they went on the market. In fact, I'm talking to one right now on private messaging through the Buy Me a Coffee members Q&A. That happened. Right? Exactly that happened. They went on at the price that all 3 agents suggested, and they've now realised it's £50,000 too much. So the tips are: choose your agent like you depend on it. And the question to ask is this, I keep repeating this. Ask each agent and say, look, I know that you're all just guessing and that nobody knows what the market will pay and that it's worth what someone will pay for it. And no one knows what someone will pay for it. So I know you're making guesses. So what I want to know now is, what's your process to ensure that we get competing bidders on our property? And make notes about this. And you're not just asking this question for effect. You're asking this question for 2 reasons. Number one, you will flush out whether or not they have a specific process that's designed to get you competing bidders. And that isn't just about pricing, it's about timing as well. But also, you'll be able to compare them. You'll be able to compare them. And literally, if it was me and I was talking to 3 agents and asked them each that question, and I'd just have a column and just put down each bullet point of what they said their strategy was. Right? And if you listen, just listen to them, let them talk it all the way through. It could take 10 minutes to answer that question. But try to figure out which one you think is the most experienced and demonstrates the most skill in how to make sure that you get competing buyers, because that's the only thing that matters. Your asking price is irrelevant in as much as, what do you care about, the asking price or what it sells for? If you care about what it sells for, then you understand that the asking price has the job of getting competing buyers. That is the only job of and don't call it an asking price, and also don't call it a valuation. They're not valuing your property. Qualified valuers are the only people who can value a property. Agents give you what's called a market appraisal, and it's just a sales pitch to get you to instruct them. And it's always an over-optimistic number. It just depends how over-optimistic it is. But if you're in London and you pick 3 large corporate big name agents, they're all going to overvalue it to roughly the same extent. And you're talking about sometimes 20% of a value. You're talking about agents valuing a property that won't sell for more than $500,000 and telling you that it's worth 600,000. And there'll be no compunction about lying to you by 20%. Right? And you get 3 of them doing it, you're going to believe them. Like, wow, those are 3 big names. They're 3 big companies. They can't all be lying. Yes, they can. Yes, they do. And by the way, it's against the Property Ombudsman guidelines. And if they do it, I've got it here. I'm going to put this. So this is what you can do. I'll put this in the live chat right now. This is what you can do. Go and have a look at this. If you're a seller and you think you've been overvalued, this is the Property Ombudsman scheme. Okay. All agents are legally required to be the member of a property redress scheme. One's called the Property Ombudsman. One's called the Property Redress Scheme. And deliberately overvaluing to get your business is an explicit breach of regulations on which you can make a complaint and they will uphold it. They've got to follow a process. They've got to document the comparable evidence that they used to justify the valuation of your home. All right? And if they don't, you can make a complaint and it'll get upheld. So maybe that's a slightly bigger answer than you bargained for, Mark Meister, but I hope that helps. Stacey, oh no. I think I literally said the words, I love it. Okay, it's funny. We all do it. The thing to do is to actually backpedal from that and say, look, now I've slept on it. I'm still interested in it, but I'm not sure I love it as much as I said I did. Okay, Anna Frazina. Oh, there it is. I've asked again. Okay. You're not asking. Sorry, Anna. I can't see an actual question from you. What's your question? Jim Bob, do you have a question? Hi, Charlie. I'm looking at the house going up for auction. The tenant is not paying rent, so it's got a tenant in it, and not likely to leave, and there's no viewings. The price reflects this situation. Yeah. That's interesting. I would suspect that that's probably a lender forcing the sale. Or, I mean, you should get that for an absolute bargain. If I were you, I'd try and talk to the tenant. Find out the situation. That's what I wanted in that situation. T says you viewed on Wednesday night and you asked for an offer by Thursday lunchtime. That kind of pressure always. Yeah, that's a bit too soon. I agree. That's a little bit too soon. And what I'd say to them is, look, I'm sorry, that's not quite long enough for me to talk to my other half, or I've got to go to work and think about stuff. Could I please have 24 hours more, or till the end of Thursday, or till Friday morning, or something? Always ask. They can say no. And if you do ask, it's quite telling what their answer is. If they say no, it's a hard 1 p.m. deadline. That suggests that they do have other offers and the seller's under time pressure. But yeah, next question. Jess9319 says, first time buyer here, born elsewhere and feel overwhelmed with the market in London. High price, bad quality. Complex to understand the leasehold and very scared about service charges. Any book recommendations? No, I haven't got any book recommendations, but what I would recommend is that you're right to be very scared about buying a leasehold property in London. Don't rule it out completely, but you've got to look at the service charges and compare it with renting, because I think at the moment, especially as rents are starting to come down in some parts of London, they've actually fallen. Asking rents have fallen in some parts of London. Tower Hamlets is one of the places. The renting versus buying for leasehold in London now, it's much less attractive to own a flat in London now than it was. If you find good quality new builds, so brick and stone built new build apartments, and the leasehold is really clear, and you get a conveyancer to advise you on your worst case scenario under that lease, but proceed with extreme caution, I would say. Nikki Knight says, question, how does a surveyor price a house to tell the lender? The market is not stable and the price changes vary from all the main price sources. So one of the things that they do is that they will talk to local agents and ask them for their recent exchanges. So they will actually get anecdotal local comparables that are not yet anywhere. They haven't hit any data anywhere yet, if that makes sense. And if they are regular in a certain patch, they will also get a feel for it. Rahul asks, I'm interested in one new build property, but is it worth waiting for the budget, whether they increase council tax and prices drop? Are you buying this, Rahul, as an investment, or are you buying it to live in? If you're buying it to live in and you need a home, never wait. Just price in what it's worth to you. I don't know. It's hard to answer that question without also knowing, what time pressure are you under? Do you have to borrow for this? Is it for you? Is it for a family member? Is it an investment? All those things vary. Jim Bob confirms that flat with that house with the tenant in it says, yes, it's a bank sale. Right. That would suggest to me that the tenant has got very strong grounds to sit tight in this, and they have been unable to get that tenant evicted. That's, you are buying a nightmare that neither the landlord nor the bank was able to solve. So if you're going to buy a house with a sitting tenant not paying rent in it, you need to factor that in. Okay? You need to know what your strategy is. I wouldn't buy it and then try and figure out how to solve the problem. You would need to know your strategy for that. I'd get some advice on that if I were you. Anna Frazina says, okay, you want to ask the auctioneers, is the vendor accepting? Yeah, there's no harm in asking before the auction. There's no, always ask. No harm in asking. Clara Bella says, if going to the Ombudsman regarding an agent giving a valuation that's too high, is there a time limit to follow this up? I don't know. That's a good question. But what I do know is this. You must first make a formal complaint to the agent in writing, and you must wait for their response to that complaint, which they're required to respond to. If you go to that website, they put the link up, the Property Ombudsman, and they tell you exactly what the steps you have to do. They will not take up a complaint until you've made a complaint to the agent and had a response from the agent. Only then can they pick it up. If the agent doesn't respond, I think then you can go to the Property Ombudsman as well. But have a look at the details on the website. Right, guys. Jess 9319. Okay, last question of the night. How can I play to my advantage that I hold a very large deposit? Mortgage and principal done, proof of deposit covered, solicitor selected. Okay, make sure you submit your offer in writing, including all of those things, details of all of those things, and add in the fact that you will also, if the offer is accepted, order your property search pack immediately the day they accept your offer. And you can get that from this URL on here. Right, £330 for a property search pack, and any conveyancer, by the way, is obliged to use it. So make sure that they don't tell you, "Oh, we can't use that. We have to use ours." No, you don't. They don't have to. Just double check, and if they say they do have to, I would question whether you're using the right conveyancer. Hopefully, you're using my guys. In which case, they're already going to use this search pack as well. Christopher says, is it illegal for agents not to market properties under offer when it is under offer? No, it's not illegal. It's usually a point of negotiation between a seller and a buyer. The agent will talk about it. Typically, it's done when the seller reluctantly accepts an offer that's lower than they want, and they want to hold out for perhaps the chance of getting a better offer, but they don't want to lose your sale. So as a buyer, what you can do is you can make it conditional. Your offer is conditional on the fact that it will be marked as under offer. Okay. Right, guys. Have a fantastic Friday. Remember, if you need me, get me via my website, mhwc.co.uk. On my website, you will find under the resources page, cash buyer email offer template and first time buyer email offer template. You will also find ways to get in touch with me, to book a video call with me. Half an hour or 1 hour video call you can book with me. But otherwise, I'm going to thank you all very much for giving me your time on a Friday evening. It's nearly 9 o'clock, which for me is movie time on a Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. If you haven't told your, I really, one last favor. Can I please ask you all a favor? This is a big ask, right? I'm going to ask you to do me a solid favor. I'm going to give you a URL in the, it's in the description below, but I'm going to get it on screen as well. Hang on a second. And I'm going to ask you to make sure that if you have a relationship with an agent or a few agents, ask them, are they attending Best Agent Day? And if they're not, they really should be, because it's a free day for them to attend. It's got an absolutely golden lineup, star-studded lineup of people who, all the people in that image there are genuinely passionate about improving the industry from one way or another. There's lenders in there, brokers, conveyancers, agents, PR, marketing. You'll notice the guy in the bottom right corner there is the guy from Zoopla. Everyone there. We've got the head of Property Mark, which is the industry's biggest organization. Everyone there is going to be contributing and sharing for free how agents can improve deal times, transaction numbers, and how they can combat overvaluing. So the whole point of the day is to improve the outcome for everyone moving house, including good agents, and how to put up resistance against the excessively overvaluing agents. So it would mean a great deal to me. I'll put the link to that page is in the live chat there. And hopefully you will all copy and paste that link and send it to your agent. Say, just thought you'd like to know about this. Definitely worth checking out. And you'd be doing me a solid favor if you did that, because the more, the merrier. And the agents will be able to ask all the speakers live Q&A. It is agent only. It is a closed event. It's not a public event. It's agent only. So it's a safe space for agents to talk about what they want to talk about. But other than that, guys, have a wonderful one. Have a great week.